Welcome everyone, it's Michelle McLean here with another health coaching skills tutorial, and today we're talking all about how to onboard your new clients and what to include in a welcome packet. So we're going to dive into all of that, and hopefully I'll answer all of your questions you might have about how to begin working with a new client. So, of course, first impressions are everything, right, in this world, and they can really have a lasting impact on your coaching relationship. So how we begin working with our new clients is really one of the most critical parts, I believe, of our coaching relationship. It's really that chance to make a good first impression, right? We don't want to waste that opportunity. So those first few interactions that you have with your new clients really count. And of course, you want to establish a positive start to what is hopefully going to be a long-term coaching relationship. Not just for the 3 months, maybe of your initial coaching, but you really want to nurture this relationship and hopefully have this client come back time after time after time. So how I like to view the client onboarding process, I think about that as really just welcoming your new client into your coaching program, making them feel valued, and letting them know that they're in good hands, right? And it's all about sort of setting them up for coaching success, right? We're sort of priming them for the coaching experience. It's also really important to have this process to really help you, the coach, gain a deeper understanding of what your client's challenges are, what they're all about, and what they hope to accomplish during your work together. So I just, want to be honest that both you, me, and the client, you and the client, we're all going to be nervous as we get started with this, right? So your client could be doubting, that they made the right decision to work with you, that maybe they're having buyer's remorse, made a big investment with you. Maybe they're doubting their abilities to actually make those health and wellness changes that they want to make. Maybe they're not quite ready to take action yet. Maybe they're ambivalent or resistant, right? They could be feeling all kinds of different emotions and feelings as they begin your work with you. And of course, you as a new coach are probably going to be nervous about working with this client, right? You're going to be having all of those doubts and fears, just really creep in at this point, thinking, can I do this? Am I ready to start coaching? Will my client like me? Will I be able to support them? Will they get success, right? All of those doubts and fears. Whether you're a brand new coach or, a more seasoned coach, you probably still have nerves when you start working with a new client. And I really feel that when you have a more comprehensive, intentional, strategic onboarding process in place, that's going to start to alleviate some of those doubts and fears on both sides, right, as you get started, because you're really thinking intentionally about it. So I really feel like with the foundation of a solid onboarding process in place, you're going to be better prepared for a more successful and effective coaching program. Again, on both sides, right? So in addition, I think there are also a few other benefits of having a really effective onboarding process in place. Things like, maybe retaining your clients for longer, as I mentioned earlier. Maybe they keep, coming back to you. They renew with you because you just set such a solid foundation. Maybe you'll get better testimonials from these clients. Maybe they're going to refer you more often, right? So more referrals could come because you've got that process in place. Of course, better client outcomes because you've really helped to set your client up for success through that onboarding process. And of course, you're just going to feel better about everything as well with this in place, as opposed to kind of just flying by the seat of your pants and not knowing what to do. You're going to feel more confident. You're going to feel more professional that you have this process in place to begin on a high note, to start strong. You're going to feel more thorough, credible. So all of that is going to do wonders in boosting your confidence as you start working with those new clients. So I really feel like the onboarding process starts with the discovery call. That's how I like to think about the process starting. Of course, there is an initial first interaction that your client has to somehow become aware of you, get introduced to you. So that could be by email, it could be a freebie that you have, it could be in a Facebook group, a social media post, maybe you met the person in person, so there's a first impression, there's some introduction before you actually hop on that discovery call. But I think about, it really starting with that intentional discovery call. So I have really 5 steps that I think about in the onboarding process. The first, as I mentioned, is that discovery call. Then you need to receive payment, right? So the payment process, then booking that first session, signing an agreement, and sending a welcome packet. So those are the 5 steps that I would include in that onboarding process that all take place before that actual first coaching session. So what I want to do is review sort of these steps, kind of give you my thoughts on each one of them, and then I want to dig a little bit deeper into the welcome packet portion and talk a little bit more about what to include in that welcome packet. So let's start with the discovery call, right? This is that usually intentional, free, live, one-on-one conversation that you are going to have with a potential client, usually done by, say, Zoom or another form of video conference these days. Typically, we're not doing a lot of these in person anymore, but it could be in person for you or over the phone, whatever method works best for you. And it's really about you learning about your client, about their challenges, about their health and wellness goals and struggles to determine if you'd be a good fit. So just to kind of back up, before we get to the actual discovery call, I wanted to mention that, when my client goes to book the discovery call in my calendar, I like to include some questions in there that are going to help the client start thinking about the coaching process. And it's also going to give me a good sense of this person, right? A little bit of background, so I'm not just jumping on the call sort of cold. I have a sense of, what it is they want to work on. I'm also asking a couple of questions that sort of gauge a little bit their commitment to the coaching process. Are they really ready to do this? Do they have the funds? Do they have the time and resources to put toward their health and well-being at this time? So I think by having sort of those, sort of screening questions, if you will, before they book that discovery call is going to help you sort of maybe weed out what I like to call the tire kickers, people who just want that free session to just maybe get some tidbits from you, or, to weed out some people who really aren't serious about coaching, because if they're not willing to take the time to fill out those questions and think, thoughtfully about them, then it's probably not worth your time to hop on the call. So I actually include, right before that questionnaire, if you do not fill out these questions, you can't book a call, right? We need you to fill out those questions, provide those answers in order for us to have a call. So that's kind of before the discovery call. Then we actually get on the call. And I will say that my approach to the discovery call is probably a little bit different from, I know what's taught in some health coach trainings, the typical sort of health history or medical intake. I, am more about the coaching process, so I like to use more of a coach approach during the discovery call as opposed to a bunch of medical information about medications and supplements and weight and all of that good stuff. So I follow a coaching framework during that call. I've actually done a separate tutorial on this. You can find that on my YouTube channel, and it's called Why I Don't Do Health Histories and What to Do Instead. So on that, I go through, everything sort of and how I approach that discovery call and how it's a little bit different from the health history. So check that out if you'd like more on that one. The other thing that I just wanted to mention is that I do offer a discovery call script. It's 5-page discovery call script that's customizable and made to tailor to your niche and your audience. I do offer that in my Health Coaching Essentials course. So we're getting to the end of the discovery call. At the end, as you know, you're sort of meant to move into that, sales pitch or the closing the deal part of the conversation, where you share your program, you talk about your offering, benefits, features, discuss pricing and all of that good stuff. So that all happens sort of near the end of the call. At this point in the call, you may, after you kind of describe it to your client, you may actually want to just email them while you're on the call a one-page overview of your coaching program. I find this is really helpful so that your client can see your program kind of in black and white, down on paper. They can have a quick look at it and ask you any additional questions they might have about what your program looks like. And again, I do offer a template to describe your offer in my Health Coaching Essentials course. How to present it, how to talk about pricing, and all of that is included in there. So hopefully your client at that point says yes. They're ready, the call went great, they say yes, they're ready to sign up. If not, right, if they need a little bit more time to go away and think about the decision, that's fine. We don't want to, it would be great if we could get them to sign up right on that call, but of course there are going to be people who need some time. What I recommend at that point, if someone needs some time to go away to think about it, is for you to book a follow-up call right there and then. So you're on the discovery call, they need a little bit of time to think, you're gonna book another follow-up call right there and then. So maybe in 2 days' time, just look at your calendars, figure out what feels reasonable, and just get them to commit to a follow-up time that you're gonna follow up with them in a couple of days, to answer any outstanding questions they have and kind of move to next steps. So book that follow-up call right there and then. So all of that said, let's presume that your client says yes. They're ready to sign up with you. They want to move forward. Awesome. You've got that new client. So what's next? Of course, you need to receive payment. So again, hopefully that can happen right on the call. You could have a link ready to your payment provider that you can just email them. They could give your credit card number that you could just plug into your payment provider, or you may need to follow up and send an invoice. So giving them, 24 hours to pay the invoice. But really at this point, you're not going to move forward with any more of the onboarding process until you receive payment, right? Really, really important that you get payment before anything else transpires, right? So get the payment and then explain to them that once you receive payment, you will send them the agreement and the welcome packet. So that comes before your first session. Also on the discovery call, you probably want to book that first session, right? So get that on the books, get it in their calendar, and know when that's going to be. So let's talk a little bit about the agreement and welcome packet. Those are the two next steps. These I send both in advance of that first call, have your client review them, and then send them back to you before the first call. So in the agreement, I can't stress how important it is for you to have a coaching agreement with your coaching clients. This is what distinguishes or differentiates coaching from other, health and wellness relationships. And I wouldn't even call them relationships because coaching is a relationship. Going to your doctor might not feel like it. But it is what makes it different than just going to a doctor, going to a dietitian, going to a therapist. You're co-creating a coaching relationship where each of you have roles and responsibilities. And I talk a lot about the coaching relationship, what that looks like in my Health Coaching Essentials course as well. But in terms of the agreement, things that I think, are important to include in there, roles and responsibilities, right? A whole section on what the coach's responsibilities are, what the client's roles and responsibilities are, and how you're going to be working together. The agreement's also going to clarify and set expectations, right? We want to know, okay, what are you expecting of each other, right? What can you expect of me as the coach? What am I going to be expecting of you as the client? I also like the wording agreement or creating an alliance versus a contract. A contract to me just is too business-like, and really we're co-creating this together, right? I'm going to send the client a draft. They're going to review it. They're going to add anything or remove anything that isn't feeling right for them, right? So we're really going to go into it in depth and make sure that it is 100% working for both of us. So like I said, I send that before that first session, have the client sign it, send a copy back to me. I keep a copy in my files, and have on record that the client has signed it. And then during the first session, I really want to make sure that we review it, right? We're going to go through it, make sure that there are no outstanding questions, and again, add or subtract or remove anything that isn't working for either of you. So it's really about co-creating and setting the foundation by having that agreement. So that's the foundation of the relationship. It outlines everything. Again, I do have a comprehensive 9-page agreement that you can customize and tailor to your niche, to your target market, to your branding, all included in my Health Coaching Essentials course. So let's get to the welcome packet, this final piece that I know lots of people are wondering about. What do you include in that welcome packet? So again, I like to send this before that first session for the client to complete and send back to me. I think my welcome packet is about 5, 6, maybe 7 pages long. And it really is about helping the client to start thinking about their life, starting to do some self-exploration, thinking about what they want to accomplish during the coaching relationship. As I mentioned, also really starts to invite them into that self-exploration, because at the end of the day, that's what coaching's all about, right? We're inviting our client to learn about themselves, to self-explore if they haven't done this before. And so we're going to set the tone that, this is going to give you a taste of what coaching is going to be all about by doing this welcome packet. I really like to ask some sort of deep, contemplative, high mileage questions. So, really encouraging your client to grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine or whatever it might be, to sit down really, in a good frame of mind and take some time to really think through these questions, because these may be questions that your client has never thought about and certainly not sort of written down answers to and sent them then to someone. So it does also cover some health and wellness information that, you might typically include in your health history, that kind of intake. So that's where I include some of that information that would be in the welcome packet. And like I said, this is really just priming the client for the coaching journey. And it's also going to give you that background information on them, lots of great insights so you can prepare as well for that first session. So I want to get specific in terms of what to include in that welcome packet and kind of share with you the sort of sections that I include. So the first section is really just an intro section that explains a little bit about the welcome packet, about, the types of questions that are going to be there, explaining that this is a great first step for the client so that they can start to explore some of these topics, writing down sort of their worldview, their take on sort of their life, themselves, their health and well-being. Definitely in that intro section, I talk about confidentiality as well, just making sure that they know everything in that welcome packet that they're writing down is absolutely going to be held confidentially. And, really just talking about the nature of those questions, that these are really going to help set the tone for the coaching relationship. So that's kind of the first intro section. The next section I include is really just that client personal contact information kind of section with their address, their email address, best way to get in touch with them, occupation, ask them relationship type questions. So like, are they married? Are they single? Do they have children, pets? That kind of, personal information. Also, I ask a question, have they ever done any personality type assessments like Myers-Briggs or True Colors or Enneagram or any of those that might give me some insight into who they are as a person. So that's the next section, just that contact client information kind of info. The next section I sort of call their thoughts on the coaching relationship. So I want to know, have they done coaching before? What do they know about coaching? What do they think about coaching? Also, what inspired them to reach out to a coach? What do they hope to gain from the coaching relationship? So, some of these questions would probably be some things that you include in your discovery call as well, but it's really nice for the client to be able to sit, think them through, and really write down their answers. So that's the next section, sort of their thoughts on the coaching relationship itself. Then the next section would be their thoughts on their life, right? So I want them to reflect on their life. So questions like, what brings them joy? Where do they derive meaning and purpose from their life? What are their hobbies, their interests, their passions? Life lessons that they've learned, bucket list items, skills, talents that they have, sort of unused potential and skills and things like that. So just, some deeper questions to really get them thinking about who they are and doing some of that self-exploration. And then the final section that I include in the welcome packet is really that health and wellness information. So as I mentioned, I don't do the typical health history. So this is where I'm gathering some of that health and wellness background that's going to give me a better sense of where they are with some of those topics. So I start off by just explaining my role as health coach, a little bit of a disclaimer, scope of practice kinds of messaging in there, that I'm not a doctor, that I'm not a dietitian, that I'm not a therapist, and sort of what I'm going to use that information for. So I include that, and then some of the questions that I ask in that section would be things like, what are your health and wellness challenges, right? Medications and supplements. I really want my client to then tell me what they were prescribed those for and if they're working or helping, right? I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a pharmacist, so I'm not up on a lot of those medications, but I really want to know why were they prescribed those and what is the intention of the medication. I ask about stress management. How do they manage stress in their life? How high is stress in their life? I ask them about, their weekly nutrition and exercise routines. What are the things that they're currently doing? Any obstacles and challenges that they're facing around health and well-being? What's their vision? Where do they see themselves? What's possible for them, right? Important visioning work. We do a whole, actual coaching session on visioning when we get into our foundation sessions. And then, what are some of the first steps that they feel they could take in improving their health and well-being at this time? So those would be the sections that I would include in the welcome packet as well. And then again, we would go over both the agreement and the welcome packet during the first session to really make sure that, there's no outstanding items, things that I want to follow up around questions. And again, this is just really going to lay such a solid foundation for the coaching relationship. So that's my take on the onboarding process. With those steps, those 5 steps. Number 1, have the discovery call. Number 2, receive payment. Book that first session, then sign agreement, send the welcome packet, have the client receive that and review it, and then follow up around all of that during the first session. And again, really so important to, I can't express enough how important it is to set the foundation for the coaching relationship. Once you have this in place, you're both just in such a good place to then continue the coaching work. So it's going to set you both up for success. And it's not something that all health coach training schools teach, a fulsome sort of comprehensive onboarding process like this. So I hope this has been helpful to sort of maybe fill in some of those gaps and questions that you might have about what to do from that first discovery call to that first session and kind of everything in between. So I hope that's been helpful. If you have any questions at all about the onboarding process or particularly about the welcome packet, I'd be happy to answer those. So just post them in the comments as well. Like I said, I do include all of these pieces, templates and scripts for the discovery call, for your program overview, how to talk about pricing, and then a complete agreement and welcome packet in my Health Coaching Essentials course. So if you're interested in that, I will also put a link to that down below. So thanks so much for tuning in today, everyone. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.